Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about length and measurements. So length is the distance between 2 points and it can be measured in units. In ancient times, civilizations would use anything around them and use them as units. So you could use anything as a unit. You can use anything from the length of your foot to how long your stride is. All of that you can use it as a unit of measurement. Inches are roughly the length of your thumb. Got no finger there. So an inch is roughly the length of your thumb. 1 foot is roughly, obviously, as the name suggests, the length of 1 foot. And yards are, there's two reasons, or two bits of history about where yards come from. Some people say it's roughly a bit under the length of one pace, or some other people think, some other historians say that it could come from the distance in the chest between a Saxon warrior. I mean, I'm not sure if that one is true, but I quite liked it. I like Saxon history. So I'm going to go with that one as well. So the actual width of the chest of a warrior. So all of these are imperial units. Imperial units were used mainly, this kind of set. These were all started by the British Empire, although before, you know, they had like lots of different units of measurement, previous civilizations. And basically every country in the world had different types of units. Until in the 1800s or late 1700s, France went into something called the French Revolution, where they overthrew their king, they started beheading everyone, they started thinking in new ways. Basically, a lot of mathematicians and scientists got a lot of power, and they started to actually try and improve the image of France by proving that they were a nation based on science and knowledge. So they came up with a new system called the metric system, and that involved completely getting rid of, you know, their old kind of imperial measurements and tying it all down to the distance between the North Pole of the Earth and the equator, or actually and Paris as well. So there's lots of measurements between those. Anyway, another one I forgot about is a mile. So a mile, you know, really long, a bit longer than a kilometer. That comes from the French or the Latin for mille passes, which means 1,000 steps. So that apparently that's one of the ways where the word mile comes from, meaning 1,000. Okay, so depending on what kind of measurement you are using, you're going to use different units to measure it. For example, if you, for some weird reason, wanted to measure your finger, you're not going to be using meters. You know, meters are about that big. You're going to have to go into decimal points, so let's not use that. You're not also going to go to tiny units of measurement. So I think the best ones here, if you're not using imperial system but you want to go for the metric system, you probably measure it in millimeters or in centimeters. If, for example, you wanted to measure, I don't know, the width of your room, so maybe if you're trying to buy a new bed, a little window here. So if you're buying a new bed, you want to see how wide your room is. You're not going to be using millimeters because your answer is going to be in the thousands, tens of thousands. It's going to be a huge number. Same with centimeters, it'll be in the thousands. You don't want that. It's going to be complicated. So you probably use things like meters. Meters is just a basic unit. So meters, that would be the best one. A meter is, again, roughly as wide as one of your steps. If you were measuring, for example, the distance between your home which we do that. And school, do some windows on the top. So if you're measuring the distance between your home and school, what would you use? Would you use millimeters? Would you use centimeters, meters, or is this other one called kilometers? Actually, depending on which or how far away you live from the school, you might use meters if you really live literally maybe across the road from the school or really, really close, or you could use kilometers. 1 centimeter normally has about, what am I saying about? It has exactly 10 millimeters. 1 meter has exactly 100 centimeters. 1 kilometer has, again, exactly 1,000 meters. Now, using this table, we can start converting from centimeters to millimeters to kilometers, because you might measure something in meters, but actually you want to be a bit more precise, so you want to maybe do it in centimeters. So, for example, if I had 2 meters, how much would that be? Pause the video if you want and have a look. Try it yourself. When you're ready, unpause it and we'll have a look. So we know 1 meter is 100 centimeters. So then 2 meters, well, if there's 2 of these, that means there's 2 of these. So 100 plus 100 would be 200 centimeters. Let's try and do it this way. So let's see, how much would 10 centimeters be? We're thinking about millimeters. So we know 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. Here we've got 10 of them, so we need to count up in tens. So we've got 10 millimeters, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. So we know that 10 centimeters is 100 millimeters. Okay, so what you can do with these measurements is that you can start finding the perimeter and the area of a shape. We're only going to be looking at quadrilaterals today, so we're going to be looking at squares and rectangles. Let's begin with perimeter. So what is the perimeter of a shape? The perimeter of a shape is the sum of all the sides of the shapes. So this side plus that side plus that side and that side. So if we added up all of these sides, we'd find the perimeter. So let's begin with that one. So we're going to be drawing first of all a square. As we know, squares, all the sides are the same. And we need to find out all the way around the outside. So let's see, this side is 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters. And actually we don't really need to measure all of them because we know it's a square. We know that all the sides are the same. So there are 2 ways to find the area, the perimeter. You can either add them all up, so it'll be 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 20, add it all up, that should give you 80 centimeters. Because it's the other way is to multiply, because we know it's a square, we know they are all the same. We can do 20 times 4, and that'll give you the same answer, 80 centimeters. If we are doing a shape like a rectangle, we can measure, again, 30 centimeters. We won't be able to use this method here because obviously these sides are a lot shorter. So that'll be 10 centimeters, 30 centimeters, and 10 centimeters. So 30 plus 30 is 60, 10 plus 10 is 20, 80 centimeters. It just happens that they have the same perimeter. What we can also do is we can find the area of a shape. Now the area of a shape is all of this space inside. All right, so imagine if we got this shape and we break it up into lots and lots of little squares. What we want to do is we want to find out how many of these squares we can fit into a shape. One of these squares, you know, we want to see how many of them we can do. Now, here what we're going to do is each one of these squares will be 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, and then the space inside of each of these squares, we do it 1 times 1 is 1 centimeter cubed. That's how we measure area. That's the important bit, this cube here. If you wanted for some reason to do 3D shapes, you wouldn't be finding the area, you'd be finding the volume, and that would be in centimeters cubed. We have show little 3. Anyway, going back to this, what we need to do is we need to find first of all our width and our height of a shape. And what we do is we'll multiply them together to find how many squares we can find inside. So our width we know is 20 and our height we know is 20, which means this way we know we can fit 20 little squares of these. That's 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. We can fit 20 of them here, and because their height is 20, we can also fit 20 going along. So actually we can take this, that's 20 centimeters high and 1 centimeter wide. So actually we can carry on copying this, and we know we're going to copy this and it'll fit in 20 times. So what we can do is we can multiply this 20 by 20 times. So 20 times 20, that will give us 400. So our answer is 400 centimeters. And remember, we're doing the area, not the perimeter. So when we're doing area, it's squared. So it's 400 centimeters squared. For this one, it'll be a little bit different. We just need to do 30 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So 30 centimeters, oh, we don't need the centimeters here, by 10. That will give us 300 centimeters squared, because remember, this is how many little squares we can fit in here. So in this shape, we can fit 400 centimeters squared. In this one, we can fit 300 centimeters squared.
The area, that's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around a shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great. With the area, that's the space inside. For a rectangle, its length and width are multiplied. And perimeter, the distance around a shape. Just add the sides together and then you'll be great. Yeah, here I am on Mars, trying to find out the size of my backyard. Well, it's a rectangle, right? So what if we cut it into squares of the same size that are 1 unit long by 1 unit wide? These are called square units.